how many awards? He got so many at the time, I can't remember. But we recognize him for the role he's doing. And I recall that carnival last year, I think 2 or 3 people were called on stage the night of the Calypso competition, and they were given some kind of gift, some kind of donation in recognition of their contribution in Calypso in Dominica. And then it struck me, but how comes, even though Pat is living in the United States, he's not there, because as far as we are concerned, he's the #1 songwriter in Dominica. The Calypso king of this year, I see Mr. John there. I see Mr. John there. Branca John, the Bricks, our new senator, the youngest in parliament. Very brilliant young man. I think he was here in New York for the carnival. He sang both songs. They were written by Pat Aaron. And the year before, when he won, it was written by Pat Aaron. And so I want to say that wherever Dominicans are, and to repeat, you are contributing. And Pat is contributing to music, Calypso, in Dominica, even if he lives right here in New York. And I'm sure every one of you, in your own way, you are making your contribution. And I would just want to thank you for that. I have tried to give you an overview, a very brief overview of what's happening in Dominica. I would want to ask you and urge you to continue to play your part, because it is our homeland, the land of our birth. Sometimes it really hurts me in Dominica and out of Dominica when I hear people speaking bad of Dominica. We cannot compare Dominica and New York. We cannot compare Dominica and United States. We cannot compare Dominica and Great Britain. We cannot compare Dominica with even Barbados and Jamaica. You are more developed, you are less developed. Our challenge is to ensure that we take it to the height. Take it there, where we can play a meaningful role in the international community. That is our role. My role as a minister, your role, the role of the farmer, the role of the musician, the role of the nurse, the role of the doctor. All of us have our part to play, whether at home or abroad. So let us, as one people, wherever we are, continue to unite. Let us unite. We have the services here of the consulate here, and they are doing a fine job. They're here to help to coordinate that effort. I urge you to work with them, encourage them, help them, as they will help you to ensure that Dominica will be one of the more, it's beautiful already, but develop in the sense of the environment, in the sense of what we have, the uniqueness of Dominica, that through our efforts, it will take us into the 21st century. God bless you all.
I want to thank the Minister for his rather inspiring address to you, and I suspect after he's had some water, he will be ready to answer your questions. Before we proceed on that, however, I want to say two things. One, of a lighter note, WLIB is not here. The operations, the video and other recording operations, I think, belong to, and I'm not sure now whether it belongs to the Thomases or the Thomases and others. Mocha Productions. And for the missions part and the consulate part, I hope that we will get a free copy of anything you produce. The other thing is, I I was a little surprised to hear the minister talk about the hostel at the grammar school. I didn't know he was there, and I always wondered what happened to the hostel. But now he's explained it and the way it used to be. It used to be in my time a hostel and the auditorium, as it were, where we had our morning sessions before we. And for those of you who know me, that is where the event with the Honorable Minister Stevens occurred. The Minister will now take your questions. From past experiences, I know some of you have more than one, but we'll try, first of all, to give as many people one question. And if there are follow-ups, we will take that after most people have had one question. So I'm not sure how we're going to do that. Is the minister going to take the questions there, or are you coming here? Very well. So now we'll have your questions. Miss Elizabeth, I forgot your last name.
With respect to the merger and resulting in your appointment to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Tourism, the title of Prime Minister speaks for itself. Therefore, one would expect Honorable Edison James to be in the capacity of Minister of International Relations. What experience do you bring to that position does result in the Prime Minister to have you as his replacement? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. Let me just backtrack a bit. My background is in marketing, agricultural marketing. All right. And so in 1995, when the cabinet was formed, I was made the Minister of Trade and Marketing. Now, what we found out in trade, as I said, trade is now international trade, all right, when you have to deal with all the negotiations and what have you. So I was involved in all the trade matters. And the trend seems to be in the other governments to merge trade with foreign affairs. Some ministries, some countries, they call it the Minister of Foreign Trade. So when the Prime Minister, who was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and his background was in agronomy, so I did not become the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Marketing when the ministry was merged. In other words, I was put, I wouldn't say probation or a period of learning. The Prime Minister, I said, maintained the position of Minister of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Marketing. And I was the minister in the ministry. So whilst I recognize the fact, and let me just be honest, that I did not have much international experience in terms of foreign matters, diplomatic matters. Let me just admit that. So the 1 year period, it gave me the opportunity to learn the workings of the ministry, particularly as it relates to foreign affairs matters and diplomatic matters. And I must tell you that I received a lot of assistance and help from my permanent secretary, all right, who has been involved in international trade relations for a very long time. And we work as a team. Even if I'm the minister, and if you understand how the ministry works, the minister is just the minister, but the permanent secretary is the CEO. If you know how government works. So once you have a good teamwork and then you can understand your role in the scheme of things, you'll be able to do a good job.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to support the minister in replying to this lady. From the time you talk trade, already you deal in foreign, because you must deal with foreign people. So whether they did not make him Minister of Foreign Affairs, once he doing trade, he will be meeting foreign people. So it is fair enough to at least let him handle something to get experience. Now I understood that you were opening a stadium, building a stadium. Is it true or not? But you didn't mention nothing about it. Could I hear something about it, please?
Right.
Thank you.
Yes. You see, there are so many things I cannot mention everything in one meeting. So thank you for reminding me. Again, let me give a background about the stadium. We know that for some time that Dominica has also been thinking of the construction of a stadium. And in fact, again, the Labour Party, they also started a stadium in Kinfield, you will know that. When the Freedom Party came, after, then we had a Hurricane David in '79, so, and new government came, so they changed their policy. And the Prime Minister at the time said her priority was on job creation. As a result, she put factory shells in the stadium. We believe from our own political standpoint, we think that was a bad strategy, recognizing the fact that in the long run, sports could be a major income earner. And those of us who follow cricket will know that when Lara broke that record, the world record in Antigua, at the recreation ground, I was told that everything sold out in Antigua. And the amount of money Antigua made, they could have pulled out, well, they could have made up money for maybe about 3 or 4 months in terms of the national economy. So we believe that sports, apart from developing the talents of our young people, it is also a means of earning revenue. And we decided to go ahead to develop plans for the construction of a stadium. Again, we called the consultants down and the engineers, and they developed a plan. They presented the plan to cabinet, and we are going to build that stadium at the Windsor Park. It will cater for a cricket ground, in Windsor Park, yes. And there will be track for athletics and football. Now, the plan is that there will be a bridge across the river, another bridge, and then that space on the other side of the river can be used for parking and what have you, and also another route, out of Dominica. So I think, out of Roseau rather, out of Roseau. So the plan is, so you build that bridge and therefore you can have a connecting road going up to Goodwill. So the stadium is well on the way, and we are hoping that when the next World Championship in cricket comes around, the World Cup cricket, we think it's about 2006 or 2007, because the president of the Cricket Board of Control was in Dominica just last month, looking at plans, because we have already booked to have a match in Dominica. And so we are going ahead with the stadium. I think it will cost about, what is it? Is it 30 million EC dollars? But it will be done by phases. And so very soon from now, we will break ground on that also. There's another project, the water project. Really, it should have started already, because the funds have already been acquired and all the feasibility have been completed. But we recognize that if we had started digging the roads of Roseau, it would be very inconvenient for the Independence celebration and the World Creole Music Festival. So we decided that as soon as the activities are over, then we're going to start with a major water project, water and sewage project in Roseau.
Will we be using this stadium for
I do not know. I cannot answer on that. I don't know.
What took you, as I said, you have one question.
Hi. My question is about the international airport.
Yes.
I know you mentioned that the CARI Forum gave you guys a commitment for 20 million and then
No, 15
for
million
15
US.
million US and then the Taiwanese government another 20. How much you guys have so far?
Okay. Well, well, the 15 is in terms of commitment stage because we haven't submitted the final thing yet. So you added 20. There are the major banks in Trinidad. I think they have indicated. I do not know the exact amount, but they have raised some money from the bonds, and the company that is coming to construct it, the airport, I think they are going to make their own contribution. So we believe we are well on the way in raising the funds.
Yes, Mr. Minister, I want to thank you on your brief address this afternoon. And you also forgot to mention the Portsmouth extension of the high school
Yes, there are many
and
of
the
them.
Mike Douglas Boulevard.
Yes.
But my question to you is about the airport as well.
Yes.
I think we can tap at least 20 million of Dominica finances overseas if we organize ourselves well and we use the internet and the resources we can to put some fund in place whereby Dominicans can contribute towards the airport project. I spoke to a couple of people this morning, including Pat Aaron I spoke to. I spoke to about 20 people this morning about that, and they're all willing to make contributions, either through loans or grant for the airport project. It is something that I suggested that we would say that Dominicans for the airport project. And I think that's the way forward in the 21st century. We cannot depend on people's money all the time to do work in Dominica. They're going to stop one sooner or later, give us their money, and we have to be able to use our own money to develop our own country and our own people. So I am suggesting that when you go back home, you talk to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, get something in place, a fund in place, where Dominicans can contribute either for donations or small interest loans, that we can get our own money to do our own projects for the 21st century. Thank you.
I'm very glad you brought up that point. The question of Dominicans making a contribution. Again, it's my theme to the development of their country. When we met in Parliament last month, this month, September, we had what is called supplementary estimates. That is money spent by government, but which were not part of the budget. So therefore, you have to seek parliamentary approval for the expenditures. And whether it's grant or from your own local funds. And that ensued a debate for 2 days. And part of the debate from the opposition, most of the funds were contributed by Dominicans. And the opposition was saying, but you all can attract foreign funds, you all cannot get aid. But it was a demonstration that Dominicans are now contributing to their own development. So I thank you for that question. Now let me come specifically to the airport project. I mentioned the unit trust. This is one way I think you can contribute. You can invest in the unit trust. Because if Dominicans in New York, in the United States, because we hope that we can have an airport development fund in the unit trust program, and that can go to invest in the airport project. It's an investment. And then if you can get $20 million US dollars, that's 52 million EC dollars. If you can get that, I mean, we are not going back, I agree. So it is there. You can do it in the unit trust. So as I said, I will leave some leaflets for you to see all what the unit trust can do. And the unit trust will be part of raising funds for the airport. So infrastructure is there for you to contribute. And we hope we can get $20 million.
Hello, good evening. You mentioned...
Can you give me your names, because I'd like to know you too.
Bentley Warrington.
All right, thanks.
You mentioned diversification, but you did not elaborate. And you also mentioned that the youth of Dominica was not interested in agriculture, which is patently contradictory. But what I wanted to ask you, what are some of the impediments that the United States have towards the importation of agricultural products from Dominica? Because you mentioned California, but we see lots of tropical agricultural products in New York, but there seem to be impediments for the importation of these products to Dominica, which I guess if we could get that going, you know, it's not a source of income.
Thank you, Mr. Warrington, for your question. Now, let me say that you believe it is contradictory why the youth are not involved in diversification. Now, there are different aspects of diversification. You can diversify within the agricultural sector. You can diversify within the economy itself. Now, let us zero on agriculture. What the youth, if a young person wants to go into an agriculture now, he would not like to go into agriculture the way his father or his grandfather went into it, with a fork, with a cutlass. We are in high tech, all right? We're in high tech age. And he would want a pickup, a vehicle. And while I'm telling you that, we recognize that, and in the budget of this year, government has given duty-free concession on four-wheel drives, so that young people that want to go into agriculture, they can, or any farmer, they will get a four-wheel drive, duty-free. All right. So that's one area of one incentive. The other incentive, what we've done, the Ministry of Agriculture has created a program, a young farmers program, whereby the farmers, the established farmers, can take one or two young persons on their farm up to the age of 25. The government has agreed to pay, I think it's about $400 a month as a kind of subsistence to that young farmer on the farm, and the farmer himself will pay something to the young person, and the person will acquire skills, agricultural skills on the farm. That the extension staff from the Ministry of Agriculture will monitor that program. And there will also be part of the program also include an in-house training program in business development, on farm management, on various skills. And we hope that after a period, I think, of 1 year, you evaluate the program, and if that young farmer doesn't have the land, government will try to seek the land to establish the young person. So that program is now ongoing. I think the forms are out to the farmers, and we hope that maybe within a month or two, the forms will come in and the program will get off the ground. So we think that, and then we have to also look at the farm implements, you know, that are appropriate, you know, appropriate technology, because we cannot put tractors in Dominica. We have limited flatlands, you know. So you cannot you do not have mechanized agriculture in Dominica as such, because of our the geography of Dominica. You understand? So we have, what we are doing is to get appropriate technology, get the training and the resources, and the marketing is important. So all these things we would like to put together to ensure that the young people return to agriculture. And not only in production of agricultural products, but also in livestock. We import a lot of chicken, and I understand that some of the chicken is substandard. And this is why the last thing I did, my permanent secretary placed on my desk, was to sign letters to people whom we appointed on a standards bureau. So we have passed legislation in May, I think, for the creation of a standards bureau. And the last thing I did before leaving was to appoint people on the Standards Bureau Council. I have set a date on the 6th of October. When I return, we're going to call them in and get them to work. One of the work they have to do is to look at not only the the quality standards that we export, because we live in a very competitive world, we have to ensure that we produce the best and export the best. But we also have to ensure that the stuff that comes into Dominica, they also meet international standard. So we have gotten people from the private sector, the Dominica Chamber of Commerce, people from agriculture, people, a consumer, people from the trade union, you know, some well-rounded group of knowledgeable people. And it will be chaired by a lawyer who has been a professor, you know, and so we believe that we have to put standards in place, because the 21st century calls for standards. Whether you live on the moon, on the earth, whether you live in America or in Dominica, wherever you are, standards will be a major factor in development.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Edwards. My question is, what is the position of your government on the litigation between cable and wireless and mapping, considering Dominica has one of the highest telephone rates, not the highest, but are you going to grant a license to mapping so that they could give telephone and not AT&T, KB and wireless will not be the sole provider of telephone in Dominica?
Yeah. Thank you for your question, brother. Well, let me just confess that I am not technically knowledgeable on telecommunications. I will just give it to you as it happened in Dominica, as it developed, as it is developing. We all know that Caribbean Wireless had a monopoly on telecommunications in Dominica and many places in the Caribbean. Now, we all know that, as I said, we're in the information age, and that in a liberalized market, telecommunications and other services. So, in early May 1995, legislation was passed in Dominica giving Caribbean Wireless an absolute monopoly for our telecommunication system for 20 years. For 25 years, I am told. I was early May. We came in, I said, on the 12th of June. So our hands were tied. Wireless mapping want to expand, and I must say that they have expanded tremendously. I mean, we get the channels, we get internet, we get everything live. You know, we are part of the global world. You know, so mapping wanted to get involved in the telecom. Well, the problem started with internet, because Caribbean Wireless sold some rights to mapping. Mapping found out that they can trap that through the satellite, and much, much cheaper than the amount they had to pay to Caribbean Wireless. So basically, they trap it, they use it from satellite, and Caribbean Wireless so they tried to put the squeeze. They pulled the plug on mapping. Mapping took the matter to court and won. And that, I mean, when you get a small company like mapping, you know, and a multinational, here, like Caribbean Wireless established, it's like David and Goliath. That's what it was in terms of, so they won. And that has transformed telecommunication legislation in the Caribbean, because we were actually trying to beg, negotiate, bend with Caribbean Wireless to say, look, help us to liberalize. But Caribbean Wireless was making millions, so it would be difficult for them to say, yes, let us liberalize. You understand? So the matter went to court, and mapping won. Caribbean Wireless has appealed, so the matter is still before the courts. In the meantime, come to your question. On the basis of the first ruling, the government has given Mapping a license to get into the telecommunication business. Now, we don't know what's going to happen after the appeal, because it will go to Privy Council. It will go to the Caribbean Court of Appeal and then to the Privy Council. Cameroonians will not stay there. But that is the situation as is at the moment.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is John Baptist. My question is about the port.
Yeah.
All of us who live here, when we are traveling back home, we have to pay so much at the port. And I remember during the election campaign that you all were promising to take down on the freight that we have to pay. And I'm wondering, what is your government doing about the situation now?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. John Baptist. We have a senator in Parliament, John Baptist John. And we have a Senator John also, Franca John. So we are very closely affiliated with the John and the John Baptist. The question of the port charge, and I think by extension you want to say custom charges too. Yeah, I know. I know there has been a concern, not only a concern of Dominicans residing overseas, but also Dominicans at home. Because basically Dominicans at home are saying that the custom charges are too high. Let me just say that this is one of the means that government gets its revenue to take care of the roads. If the roads are bad, everybody complain. To pay the teachers for the schools and everything. So whereas I think government would like to reduce custom charge and port charges, one has to look at the budget. And if you remove certain charges, you have to see where you can get it back, because you have to maintain the services, and people are calling for more services. Now, as far as Dominicans residing overseas and returning home, the policy, as far as I know it, I think if you are living, how many years, 3 years? 3 years, yes, 3 years, right? As far as I know it, if you are living outside of Dominica for more than 3 years, you're entitled to bring your personal effects down duty-free. Duty-free. And it doesn't mean that, the only caveat I'd like to put, because I know people come to me, you can bring down a vehicle. You can bring down a vehicle, but I think the vehicle you will get total duty-free concession if the vehicle is over 1 year old. Okay, it means that you had it there and but if you're coming with a new vehicle, you do get some concession, but you do not get full concession. You do not get full concession, because it means that you do not have the vehicle in use. You do not have the vehicle in use. Yeah, but you do get, because I know I dealt with that from somebody I knew from England who came to live in Fokani. And so I dealt with a case like that. Marlene, look at me. So the point is that the vehicle, that's a vehicle. But but there are some equipments. If you talk about equipments, agricultural equipment, if you're going to business and things like that, I think based on the custom rules and things, these things can come duty free if it's going to productive use. Yeah. Charles.
Okay, I'm Maggie Thomas, and I'm concerned because you spoke a little about agriculture, and I think if our youngsters have to be agriculturally minded. The agriculture should start from the school. What I would like to say is that most of the schools in Dominica, agriculture is not on the curriculum. And most of them whose curriculum includes agriculture, it is not well met. I understood that in your constituency there is a school that is closed right now.
Which one of them? Which village? I have 5 villages.
Cochrane.
Right, good.
I understood that Cochrane School, there are very few children, and then they have to transfer to Roseau up and down. I feel it should be vice versa. Roseau coming up to Cochrane. Because what happens is that the building will just be there and it will be vandalized. The thing is, and there is all agricultural areas. In Cochrane there is a very nice, it's not a stadium, but it's a sport facility. And we have a lot of agricultural lands up there. So the children should be able to try agriculture and learn from there and try to get, get it in their minds to be able to do agriculture. Because we cannot do without it. We want to eat food every time. And when I go down to Dominica, from eating this crap up here, I cannot go back and eat crap down there. So thank you, sir.
I am sure, by the way, Mrs. Thomas spoke, that is somebody that is close, you'd recognize that somebody that is closely involved with Cochrane. Your teacher, head teacher there. So I don't recognize you. That's why I'm glad that people are giving their names, because, yeah, I know that she was a very successful head teacher in Cochrane. Now, let me just answer your question. And let me say Cochrane is one of the villages in my constituency I like a lot. Very nice, community. When you leave Kinnfield and you go up to Cochrane, it's cool and nice and good for fruits and vegetables, fresh grapefruits. Very nice area. And Mrs. Thomas would want to know that we are doing the road. We are doing the road now, so that you could get a better drive up to Cochrane. Now, yes, I agree with you that that's where it should start, at the schools. Because when I went to school in Mount Prosper, there was a school garden. There is still a school garden, but less emphasis is now placed on school garden. We know that. When I grew, we did cabbages, beans, and everything, and then we sold it, and we saved it in our school credit union, our school savings, and to buy desks to fix the chairs and what have you. But things has changed, and as things have changed, some change for the better, some for the worse. And this is one that happened for the worse. And we recognize it. And as part of that program we are talking about, that the schools will be involved. And we also, at the college, at the technical college, now the Council General just reminded me that again we have built a new wing at the technical college. And now, as of this school year, we've merged the academic wing, what we used to call sixth form college, and the Clifton Dupini College as one unit. So therefore, it is one unit now. And agriculture will be a priority. Now, it is, we must keep it on the school curriculum. But what I noticed, because I did agriculture science in school, in grammar school, and I never went to a garden. I read the books, yes. I sat the exams, yes. Look, I never touched a cutlass. The guys, I don't know if there are any of those tech wing guys here now, in days of the grammar school, E1, E2, the guys used to do agriculture, tech wing. But we did agriculture as an academic subject. So we have to do both the practicals, the theory, and the practicals. And I think we have to ensure that agriculture is taught at the schools, that it is practiced, and that these people involved can see that they can make a reasonable income out of it. As far as this Cochrane School is concerned, as you taught there, I'll give you the whole background. It was a decision, first of all, by the parents themselves. Because I had a meeting with them and they reported to me it was their decision. The fact is there were 15 students in the school. 15. And if school had opened, they would have 11, they told me. So can you pay a principal and one teacher to 15 children? It's just straight economics. What the government has decided is to get a bus, pay the bus to take the children to the nearest village in Massac. Because what's happening in Dominica now, I'll tell you what's happening in Dominica now. I have this problem in all the villages in the valley. People are busing their children to Roseau because they believe they can get a better quality education in Roseau. And the school is there and the school is empty. You cannot tell. So again, these are people, this is their choice. Wait. So that is the reason why the school in Cochrane is empty. So we have taken a decision, number one, to bus the children to school, and two, to use this school as a multi-purpose center, to keep the library, to keep the home ed, so the people can still do their cooking and their sewing and things like that, because she developed a good relationship with the credit, it's an Alfonso's Credit Union, and they put all those facilities in place. So we can continue with those things, this vocational education. But more than that, I got a letter from the Youth Skills Training, where they want to use this school as a youth skills training center to teach young people all over Dominica, that's it coming up now, in computer skills and other skills, carpentry and masonry. So the school will not be closed and it will not be vandalized. It will be used for the further education of not only the students of Cochrane, but the rest of Dominica.
Yes, my name is Francis Warrington, and regarding the Conference of Dominican Associations, which is set for March 2000, how are these organizations going to be informed that this thing exists, and how are they going to be courted and made aware of it?
Yeah, very good question, because we are still in the planning stage. This will be coordinated between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Development Corporation. The NDC, the National Development Corporation, recently asked us in our ministry to get the addresses and the names of the people who lead all the associations all over. And we are doing what we can to give them that information. So when we get all that information, the association themselves will be informed of the arrangements and what have you. But we recognize that it is a very important conference, and then we would like all associations to be represented. So help us to spread the word. All right?
Good evening. My name is Dagmar Diane. Before I ask my question, I just want to say that I'm happy that there are plans that every child in Dominica will receive a secondary education as long as that person passes, the common entrance examination. I'd like to suggest that while we put this education program in place, that there are plans to appeal to the conscience of our young people, that they will stay away from drugs and other influences which will degrade them, and that they look towards fulfilling the needs of the nation, and that the leadership keep the needs before them at all times, that they be prepared for agriculture, health, science, and technology, so that the nation will be able to contend, in the international world. Also, you mentioned earlier that the different CARICOM governments are planning to work very closely together. Is something being done so that all the ambassadors from those countries who come to the United States will work more closely together so that united we can work against the problems against us. Example, that the ambassadors working together can maybe formulate letters that could come around to to the different people that they represent, and we could sign those petitions or write letters united as a united body and send to the various senators. Thank you.
You seem to be a prophet. Seems to be a prophet, because we had a meeting today. That's the meeting the ambassador mentioned earlier on, the meeting of the foreign ministers of CARICOM, and it is called COFCO. That is the Conference for Foreign and Community Relations. That is one of the organs of CARICOM getting together, the single market and economy. So we met today, and so whereas the ministers have that conference, that was the point. That was the exact point that was made by the ambassadors here in Brussels, that they need to work together. They need to form common policies, foreign policies. When a decision is taken at the CARICOM level, the COFCO level, that decision will be transmitted to Washington, to the United Nations here in New York, and we will be taking a position on international matter. Because what we found out as the discussion went on today, there was need for more coordination in our foreign policy. It came out, and a strategy will be put in place to solve that problem. I must also inform you that the CARICOM Secretariat itself, they have some representation at the United Nations. And there was a call for the CARICOM representation and our ambassadors here in New York to work together so that it can remain united in the eyes of the international community. Very good point.
Good evening. My name is Rodney Simon. I heard recently that in the whole scheme of things on bananas, that St. Lucia were planning to sell their bananas to a French company. I would like to know if this is so, and in what position this is going to leave the other islands that are trying to make a headway. And also on the CARICOM issue, is anything being said or done about one currency for the Eastern Caribbean Islands?
All right. Good. Okay. On the question of St. Lucia and Chiquita, that's a French company. It's a company. It's an international, multinational company. French. No, but it's Chiquita. It's Chiquita the top. Wherever it is, but Chiquita is a major banana international company. Now, St. Lucia is the largest banana producer in the Windward Islands. All right, and they help to form WIPDECO. That is the Windward Island Banana Exporting Company. That is our company, all right? So we went into a joint venture with Fives, all right? That's another UK banana exporting company. So it's a 50% shareholding on each side. I indicated to you that there has been some talk as to how much money the Windward Islands bought geese. It was $48-something million. Some people felt that it could have been cheaper. But anyhow, the move was made, because at that time, it was felt that if we did not buy geese, and it was not easy, although we traded with geese from the 1950s or so, geese did not say, look, we've had a good trade relationship for over a long period of time. We're gonna sell to you. We had to do all intelligence, all kind of thing, because Geese wanted to sell to Nabor, that is from Ecuador, one of the largest banana exporter in the world. Because yeah. So there was that negotiations, and with Deco together with Fives bought over Geese for that amount of money. I think one of the things it did, it guaranteed that we access to the market, that we had our own company selling, and that we were on the market. We were in the shipping and marketing of our banners. And I informed you that already we're getting dividends. We're getting dividends from the company. So in the long term, that company will continue to ensure that we have access and that we continue to get money out of that investment. Because I really believe, no matter what people say, once we have the right quality, that there will always be a market for banners. And I think our banners are very special banners. Our banners are succulent. It's a smaller fruit. I want to think it's a better fruit. The Latin American banners, they're much bigger, it's much drier. I think you know more about that than I do. You'll know that, right? So the problem is, the problem is that those big companies like the Chiquitas and the Del Montes and the Does, they can, because of their economies of scale, they can easily drop the price, flood the market, drop the price, and we will not be able to compete. I think that is the strategy. That is the strategy. So before, the other strategy they had was kind of to buy over our interests. So when they buy over our interests, they have us in their hands, they can just put you in the bin, in the bin, rubbish bin, because they have you. And I think that was their strategy, to infiltrate and to go to St. Lucia. Now, there was some talk that they were working with the opposition. And there was a certain person in St. Lucia who was working with them. So I must say that there were approaches made. I must say that. But then I think the bond of staying together has prevailed. What has happened in St. Lucia now is that instead of having one company, you still have with Deco, but you have two companies buying from the farmers. Like TQ, Total Quality, different names. They have the association, like our DBGA, buying, and then they have another. So they have two companies, and that is creating a little friction and thing like that. Something like a division. And based on the problem we are having at the WTO, at the international market, we can't afford to be fragmented. We can't afford to be divided, because that is what they want to keep us out. And we admit that the Windward Islands were very much concerned about it, and that I think steps have been made at a cabinet level in St. Lucia, because today Mr. George Odlum told me that the Prime Minister appointed him as chairman of a committee with their ambassador here, Ambassador Hunt, and somebody else to be on a committee to try to resolve the matter. So this is the position with St. Lucia, and that I think that in the end, wisdom will prevail, good judgment will prevail, and that will remain as one company in WIPDECO. Oh yes, one currency. But it shouldn't be a big thing for us. In the sub-region, we have one currency already. In the OECS, St. Kitts, Dominica. So this is, I just say that by way of introduction. Because you recall I said, before coming here, I was in St. Lucia at the meeting of the Economic Affairs Committee. And this was one of the items on the agenda. what can we do, or what is the relationship between the OECS single market and economy and the CARICOM single market and economy? So we from the OECS said, but already we have a stronger integration movement in the OECS because we have one currency, the Eastern Caribbean dollar. We have the judiciary, all right? And there are many things that we share together, you know, as one people. So basically, we are closer in the integration process than the entire CARICOM. Now, your question is whether we will have one currency in CARICOM. Let me see, I can answer that question. No, because I recall the days long time ago, the Jamaican dollar was one of the strongest dollar. Almost a pound, I understand, in those days. Then Barbados had the same currency with us too. The Guyana dollar and all of them. In the days of the MDCs and the LDCs, we were the LDCs. Now they're saying the table has changed now. The Eastern Caribbean is the second strongest currency in the region after Barbados. All right? So the question whether we'll have one currency in CARICOM, well, you have to look at a lot of fiscal policies. You have to look at all kind of economic thing. It's a complex thing, which I cannot answer now.
My name is Lucy Belsuge. I'm just concerned about the economy, about the bananas. Like you were talking about the different, companies that's own the Latin American. What I'm seeing right now, bananas, like you're talking about that Chiquito and one from Botana, which is Ecuador, and Dole. Some of the bananas, have a little mixed feeling, but some of them are great. But Dominicans, I think bananas might be a little smaller, but it's much sweeter. I'll be honest with you. That part I remember.
You know that?
Yes. But I don't know if it's because of the prices that is affecting Dominicans and the Latin Americans, that they might think that you all are asking for a greater price than the Latin American. So this is a big issue, I think, that is really having the problem.
Yeah.
They think that you all are asking for a bigger price, which means your bananas are smaller, but they're not looking at how the quality of it. I think they're looking at the quantity.
Yeah.
And that is why I think they're failing. Which way in the year 2000, I think they're saying that might come to be where the Latin American might overpopulate the black people in the world. And I think it's coming to that right now with all of this problem we're facing.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I will tell you what the real problem is. The real problem is that on the European, those companies, they get a better price in the United Kingdom, on the European market, than in the US market, because it's a protected market. There's a licensing regime in place. Now let's face it. They have all of the United States market. All. We do not export bananas in the United States. They have 2.2 million tons of bananas they can ship to the European Union. What 857 tons can do to a big company? You know what I mean? And the truth is that they want everything. That is the greed of the multinationals. That is greed. That's what capitalism is all about. Now, it's more than that. What they did, the directors of those companies, they lobby the United States government. They wine and dine in the White House. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to do that. And they put their case before the American government, the president and everybody else. They've contributed heavily towards the campaign. That is common knowledge. It has been published. That's common knowledge. So it's payback time. Payback time. So they say, look, see those little countries there? We're talking about trade liberalization. They're getting protection under the lawmaker agreement for that 857 tons. Let us go to the WTO. Let us take the European Union to the WTO for that little protection they gave in. Let us take that out from them. Let us control the market. And that's what it is all about. That is That is what it's all about. So the WTO is saying under our statutes, under our agreement, no preferential treatment, no subsidy, no this, no that. And you must abide by the rules of the WTO. Now you'll ask me, who are the WTO? We are members of the WTO. That is the problem. We are in an organization that is against ourselves. That is the problem. And this is what the second round is all about. We're hoping that the developing countries of the world can use the second round of negotiations. And let me see that I saw a report from the G7, the OECD countries, when they met somewhere, and they recognize that the WTO is against the wishes, the rules is not in compliant with the needs of developing countries. They have recognized that. And we hope that in the Seattle round, that can be addressed. So we ourselves have our own homework to do as developing countries. Countries of CARICOM, countries of the ACP, and developing countries to come together and put a strong case forward and say, look, we want our pound of flesh also.
Ladies and gentlemen, I had prescribed this to stop at 7, but Mr.